Hello, guys. Welcome, Ground Passers, to another episode of the pod. It is Grand Slam season. Grand Slam season is here. And I have the one and only Mitch Michals from Inside In Tennis Podcast to kick us off. Hi. Hi, Mitch. How are you doing?
Anastasia, this is great. I'm doing well. Also, you're never going to get me on the cold open again, so I just assumed I was live the second I came on. So I was ready to be on the air the second I turned the computer on. So good to be here. Excited to talk RG.
It's funny because Nick is always the one who's trying to get me and like does something absolutely crazy as we're starting. So I try and do that to the guests. But yeah, we're recording on a Thursday. This episode is probably going to go out tonight or probably tomorrow morning. So Ground Passers, you are going to be seeing a lot more and hearing a lot more from us on Ground Pass because it is Grand Slam season. We're not going to be there every day. At least not podcasting. We're not there yet, but we are definitely going to be around a lot. And at the end of this podcast, I will kind of give you an insight into our schedule. But firstly, if you're watching us on YouTube, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, do all the cool things. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, listener of your choice, 5-star rating, and tell us, why are you excited for Roland Garros? Because I don't know why this year specifically. I'm lit. I'm ready. I'm like, let's get to Sunday so we can start playing some tennis.
It feels like change is in the air. It might not be. Like it might actually be the exact same thing as last year, but it does feel like there's a possibility for change. And that's probably what excites us because you have some less doubts on the men's side after Rome, but definitely doubts on the women's side. So I think that might be why everyone's a little antsy heading into Paris this year.
Right. I feel like for the first time, I don't know. Like I truly have no idea. And you're right, especially on the women's side, but the men's side as well, I have to say, could throw up some surprises. What we are here for, this is our draw show. I've wanted to do a show like this for a while on Ground Pass. We haven't done it yet, but I kind of want to dive into what the draw is, how it all works, because I think a lot of, especially not new listeners, but new fans of tennis or casual fans of tennis might not actually understand the ins and out of the draw. They just like see the table and they're like, oh, it's a draw. But yeah, we're here to talk about the draw, the French Open Roland Garros draw. By the way, Mitch, what do you say? French Open, Roland Garros?
I work for a company that were basically instructed Roland Garros at all costs, so they're kind of bullying it into me. But I'll still sprinkle in French Open every now and again because that's what it was known for me growing up.
Yep. Yeah.
And if you read, it's funny because I got the Chris Clary book over my shoulder and he gets into the history of it. It's kind of shocking that in Roland Garros, the person, I don't think many people know about him. It's, was a hero in a different avenue of life, but kind of shocking that it was named after him and now all this lineage is associated with his name. So
right.
I digress though. I think French Open's fine.
Yeah, I definitely go back and forth because you're right. Like growing up, that's how I knew it as. I have no qualms to, I don't mind calling it Roland Garros, but French Open's going to slip up. So just be ready for it, everyone. But yes, the draw was this morning. I woke up to the draw, watched it live on YouTube, which was really fun. But before we go into that, what is a draw? Basically, I would say the draw is the schedule of matches. It's the way the matches are going to happen. It's kind of like a knockout round. That's how tennis draws work. It's a knockout round. There is a round robin. Some tournaments are held in a round robin match, which is where kind of the end of year finals, some exhibitions like Laver Cup and things like that, where you play different players multiple times and it's a round robin format. But with traditional draws, it's a knockout round till you get to the end, to the finals, and there are only 2 players left and they fight it out to win. Have you ever been to, or have you ever attended a live draw before?
No, I haven't. And I will say that I was maybe one of the conspiracy theorists up until about this time last year. When I thought,
wait. What conspiracy theory? What am I missing?
That they will home cook a draw or avoid certain things. Although, and I know it's ridiculous. I wasn't fully buying into that. But yeah, last year when Nadal played Zverev, which, by the way, was informative for me, just to kind of concise some thoughts on the draw. The easiest way to explain it is the top 4 seeds have their own section. then it, you put the numbers in 1-8, and then we're all the way down to 32. But what I didn't know, and we found out last year, obviously Nadal Zverev is what I'm talking about, round one. But I actually didn't realize, because I've never actually been to a draw ceremony, that they'll place not the seeds first. There's holding places. It's like their own separate thing. So Nadal in that draw was placed in a bad section where they knew at the end it was either going to be Zverev or Alcaraz. So
right.
I haven't been to a draw. I think it's interesting. I think the players being there is kind of another interesting side to it too, because it seems like they never get bad news in person there, but I don't know. I don't know.
You're like, I don't know. Ego was there. We'll come to that for sure. I actually last year went to my very first live draw. I've never been a draw person until I saw it happen live. I was at the Cincinnati Open last year. They do a whole ceremony. Tommy Paul came out. Marcus Giron was there.
That's why.
And they're like, that's why. They made it fun. But, they're picking out numbers and names. And I thought, this is fun. This is can be a whole activity. And I started really getting into draws and the process and stuff. But you explained it a little bit there. So basically, the players are divided into the seeded players, which at a Grand Slam, there are 32 seeds, and the non-seeded players. And the way it works is the seeded players they try and separate them along the draw. So we're not getting Sincaraz first round,
No.
because then one of them's out of the tournament, and it's not great for the tournament either. And it's also kind of a bummer that's the first thing, and you still have 2 weeks to go.
Yeah. And if you think about it in multiples, going back to, elementary school, you think about what the important seeds are, numbers to get, like 4-5, Fritz at 4 is essentially his own quarter. If you get the 9 seed, for example, you could be in a murderer's row as well. So, and then obviously 32, that last seeded position. It's also interesting too to think about if a player pulls out, or if they're Berrettini isn't playing, and you can go into it too, but there'll be players that move up. Sometimes it happens after a draw. That's the big one. After a draw, there is no substitution. The draw is done. You just put a lucky loser in there. And I bring up the example I can think of is Andy Murray pulled out of the US Open one year as the 2 seed. That entire side of the draw was just barren of seeds. So we don't want them. My advice to players, my pull to players, if you're a top seed, try to pull out before the draw just to help us all out.
Just help us all out for sure. And just, because I think when you get those tournaments where it's all of a sudden, it's sometimes they wait till the day they're playing to pull out. And I'm always you didn't know though, but.
I got one for you. And this is another inside one. I'm just guessing. I don't know. But it was a match. I think it was Roland Garros years ago, obviously. Serena Williams, Maria Sharapova. Serena withdrew an hour before the match. And I'm convinced Anastasia, and I know they're on good terms now, but I think she wanted Sharapova to have to do her whole warm-up and go through everything for a match and then be I'm out.
Do the whole thing.
Yeah. One final thing, because,
Wake up early, do the warm-up, eat right, do your meditations, focus.
You don't get a night out. You don't get a night out the night before, not on my watch, no. So... Yeah.
Oh man. But so, that's pretty much what the draw is meant to do, is separate the seeds. So like you said, the 4 seeds, they're all separated in their own quarters of the draw. So they're 4 quarters. And then the seeds are just sort of randomly distributed in that. So sometimes you get a top heavy half, sometimes you get a bottom heavy half. And we'll go into that in this draw for sure. Just some terms to just take care of and get rid of, just so that everyone knows what it is. Because we've said some of it, and I don't know if people know, but so their direct entry is when you get into the draw by your ranking. So you're ranked high enough to get in there and you're all set. It's usually, Mitch, I think it's 105, between 1 and 103, depending on who withdraws or not.
I don't know specifically, but it's in that range. It's usually about firm. There's the reason why it's not the same is, this is really getting granular. You have qualifying, but you also have wild cards that they're giving out in certain arrangements, like the French Federation and the U.S. Federation have an exchange program going on that people aren't really a fan of. But there is a direct entry. There's qualifying. There's a few wild card spots. Which, by the way, Stan Wawrinka, I know we might be jumping ahead, getting a wild card as a non-French player. That is
Yeah.
One of the honors that is not bestowed upon many. He is a former champion, so he gets it in his final one, but it's rare to get a wild card spot if you're not French in this tournament.
Right. No, it's very rare. Weird. I was looking at the list and it's just like French. And then, like you said, the US and France, they have like an exchange program is what I call it. Yeah. It's an exchange program. So we get like a couple of, French players for the US Open. They get a couple of US players.
Did you know that there was like some beef within the French tennis circles or fans, I should say, that they gave them to some veteran players instead of maybe some young players. So there's arguing over who deserved. Like Riley Opelka said, no one deserves a wild card. I'm on his school of thought. But it was interesting to see like Herbert get one. And then there's young players that I think if I was going to have to pick one other than maybe former champions, I would say young player get the opportunity. But no one's happy. Everyone's going to argue.
And that's the thing about wild cards. It's like no one's happy. You're not going to make anyone happy. So sometimes I just feel like it's just like, just do it. What's going to happen? Everyone's going to be mad. But if I was the one picking wild cards, I would go for younger players too. Like I just feel like the essence of a wild card is to give someone the opportunity. So I think that's where I would go with it. So how does the French Open draw work specifically? Now, I said earlier in this that I watched it live. The French Open is one of the draws that you can watch live on YouTube. They stream it live on YouTube. I think it might be on their website too. Probably it's just like an embedded link in their website as well. And I love that. It's so low cost to just put an iPhone and freaking stream the draw on YouTube. I really think every single tournament should do it. I like it because I think also, speaking a little bit to your conspiracy theory in the beginning, it kind of gives a bit of transparency with the process, is if it's like streamed live and stuff. So I watched it this morning. The draw specifically at the French Open is in this place. I'm not going to try and butcher the French name right now. I think it's Orangerie.
Sure.
But thank you, Mitch. You're like, sure. But it is one of the most beautiful buildings I've ever seen. I've never been to the French Open. Have you been to the French Open?
I have not, no.
No, same. And it's just one of those like bucket list places that I would love to go to. But it looks like it's a greenhouse, like a massive greenhouse. It looks beautiful. Everything is set up well. And then you see the guy, Mark Murray, you see him. And if you don't know who this is, if you've watched the French Open on TV and you hear a Nadal is playing and you hear the guy like going through the years that Rafa Nadal has won the slams, that's him. You see him and you know it's time. It is time. It is time for Roland Garros to happen.
Yeah, it makes it feel like a big fight when he's announcing accolades, announcing what you've done, and he'll have more of his breath this year that Nadal's not playing.
Oh man! Although, I mean, this is a total side tangent, but are you excited for this like opening ceremony thing?
I am. I think I'm excited. I'm also a little relieved because it sounded like everybody in his camp hated the Davis Cup one. Yeah. So I think that this is good to finally have a nice bookend. And talk about a non-French person getting the highest honor. I mean, this is, statue, all this, like it's well-deserved, obviously. But I'm excited to see
them. I don't see them renaming a court because the man, Nadal, already has a statue in there. Mm-hmm. But I'm really excited to see what they do because it seems like it's kind of been no one's saying exactly what the details are. But you're right. In terms of Nadal, I think maybe they just make him a French citizen on the spot or something.
Yeah, he's done it all there. Yeah, it's kind of interesting too. I mean, we'll get into it, but how much he's involved in tennis going forward, that's what I'm really fascinated about. So time will tell.
Yeah, I hope he sticks around with it. But the draw was happening. They had a soccer player there. Osman was the guest. I do not know this man. I'm really sorry to this man, but I do not know him. But, they always have like a French sporting guest there, and he plays for the big Parisian soccer team, and he was there. And it just was a vibe. And I really enjoyed kind of like the vibe they created of the tournaments. They had Iga Swiatek and Carlos come out as well after the draw. Like it was, everything was nice. Like there was no sort of like the computer didn't work or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or, I think, was it what? No, it wasn't the French. No, it wasn't Australia, but I think it was a tournament maybe before Australia where Daria Kazatkina was like pulled in the draw, but they put like a Spanish flag next to her name. Do you remember this?
No,
yeah. So there was nothing like that.
Yeah. Well, the budget might be a little higher, I'm guessing, for the Roland Garros draw. I know it's streamed only on like an iPhone, but still, it's pretty good.
Yeah, totally. So that's kind of the sort of intro to draws. Now let's go. Let's jump into the meat of the matter and the French Open draw. And let's start with what we know, which I always say we know the first round matches. Like that is a for sure thing. We will talk about projected stuff, which I'll talk about later, but let's talk about first round matches that we're hyped about. And I kind of gave us a budget of 3. Just pick the 3 that you are looking at or whatever. We could go for more if time allows, but I want to start if I can.
Yeah.
Because
I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
Well, the first thing that jumped out to me is Osaka Badosa.
Yep.
Like that is the first round match of dreams. Naomi Osaka playing Paula Badosa in the first round of the French Open.
It's fascinating in a lot of ways. Also, Badosa looking good. So I have a friend that's like a big UFC, like combat sports fan. And his phrase that he uses that I'm going to steal for tennis is I'm not entirely convinced it's going to happen until they shut the cage door. And I'm worried that I'm just worried. And I know I probably shouldn't be, but good to see Badosa back. She's struggled. Osaka's had some health things too. If they're both playing their best, this is like at minimum a 4th round, if not a quarterfinal level match.
Right.
I don't know. I'm Naomi's success on clay might be something, right? Like, is this something new? It's just an attitude, right? She's actually looks like she's enjoying herself on the surface for the first time. And I'm in the school of thought, Anastasia, where I think a tough first round match actually helps you. If she survives this, or if Badosa wins, this is great for them going forward. I think it's good to just rip the Band-Aid off and play a highly competitive match early.
Yeah. For me, as someone who actually loves both players, this is the sort of match where I'm just like, I mean, come on. Couldn't they have drawn someone else, like someone 70 in the world and just like move on with it? You know what I mean? But frankly, this morning when this came out, Badosa was still playing her match, or still at least scheduled to play her match in, where's she playing right now? She's in Strasbourg. And I saw the Osaka Badosa first round, and I was like, both, like, if they were both healthy and swinging, that would be a blockbuster. But Badosa has been having back issues, as we know, and Osaka is on the rise. Like, she's really playing well on clay. So I thought, this might be actually good for Osaka, and she'll just like take it and it'll be easier than we all think. But then Badosa lost her match, which was a 3-set match in Strasbourg. And she put this post on Instagram, she basically ended it with, I'm back. And I was like, oh, okay.
And I'm not going anywhere. That was the big thing,
I'm not going anywhere. I know. And I was like, oh, okay, Badosa, I'm going to get the popcorn out and I'm going to be ready for this match. It's almost like I think she saw the draw and then she was like, let me put something on Instagram.
It's funny. I don't know who's favored in that matchup off the top because it just came through. I'd be curious to see who it is. I think Badosa, when she is healthy, it's a big if, but fitness wise, she's tough to beat. So if this becomes a heavy 3-set match, I would favor her to win. But Naomi has the ability to hit anyone off the court. So yeah, that's a good one. It's hard to follow that. I knew you were going to go there, and I just can't. I don't know if I can follow that.
Well, I will let you go next. What's your first one?
So I had a few I was looking at, and I could go bold. I could really just like risk it all right now and just tell you one that I don't know that a lot of people would have, except, I mean, your listeners would probably have. But, of all the first round matches that I saw, and I'm not going to name check any, but the one that I really liked was Baptiste Haddad Maia, because Haddad Maia actually looks good now all of a sudden, which brings stuff up.
All of a sudden.
If your podcast highlights the matches you should see ground pass, right? Like this is going to probably be a ground pass match.
Yeah.
Baptiste, and someone pointed this out to me, she plays long, close matches like across the board. So I'm a little bold with the first one on this list of round one. I'm only looking at the women's side. I think I'll switch to the men in a little bit, but that match I think is going to be a 3-set war. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Haddad Maia already has that reputation, like for years. She just can't play a straight set match to save herself. But she has been looking not great all season until this literally 5 seconds ago.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, she's making it to semifinals of tournaments and she's coming in. That is such a great call. Oh, that's going to be a good one because I watched Baptiste live for the first time in Charleston this year, and I was really impressed with her game. She trains really hard. You know, I think she had lost I can't remember what round she lost now in Charleston, but she stayed at the tournament just practicing. I saw her every day that I was there, and I was really impressed by that. And she came into the clay swing and has had some really great matches. Like you said, a lot of 3-setters. So that is a good call. I did not even see that match
like
in the draw.
If you want to do, I mean, you can go again with another women's one. I left you like a tasty one that I thought would be the easier one to go with, but I don't know.
Well, I'm actually going to move on to the men.
Okay.
And go for something maybe similar-ish, but and I feel like this one might surprise people.
Okay.
But Jack Draper versus Mattia Bellucci. Mattia Bellucci of Player of the Fortnight fame. We've talked to him on the podcast before. But the reason why I picked this match is because it's almost an upset alert for me. It is almost an upset alert for me. Last year, and do you listen to the Changeover podcast?
A little bit, yeah.
Shout out to the Changeover podcast. They just interviewed Frances Tiafoe. I'll leave the link if you want to check it out. And Frances Tiafoe last year played Mattia Bellucci first round of French Open and almost got kicked out. It went to 5-set tiebreak. It was a 5th-set tiebreak. And in the interview with the Changeover podcast, Tiafoe brings it up as in, because he recently made some comments about just the depth of the draw on the men's side where, you know, you're looking at a player and you're like, oh, okay, that player's like, 94 in the world. Like, what can they do? And they're hitting you off the court, So he talked about Mattia Bellucci like that because he said he came into the French Open, he looked at his first round and he was like, okay, cool. This is going to be 3 sets. I'll be home by lunch. It'll be great. And there he is stuck in like a 5-set battle. So, all the players, they do their scouting and stuff. And recent form, Bellucci has not had great form recently, but I don't know.
It's an interesting one.
It's interesting.
I have 2 men upset alerts, and they're both Americans that could be upset. And they could go down to Italians. So that's the thing. Corda Darderi, watch that match. Actually, I mean, Darderi looks really good recently. So that one scares me for Sebi, someone I've been a fan of, but the consistency hasn't been there. Ben Shelton, Sonego. I mean, I don't know. It's not a good draw for Ben, and Ben has not looked great on clay recently. Sonego is 30 years old now, which I couldn't really believe that he's already 30. Right. He's a veteran. He can handle the moment. He can handle these crowds. We saw him against Fonseca in a similar match, handling Brazilian crowds. So those two, I kind of lumped them together, Anastasia, but I think that those are going to be good competitive matchups. And those American boys better be ready to go from the first point because these are trap matches and could be short stays in Paris if they're not ready for the Italians. The Italians are coming, unfortunately.
The reason why I am laughing at what you're saying is that in the draw, I think it's Musetti's section. Why are all the Americans in Musetti's section? All of them.
I don't know.
All of them are in that section. I'm like, what did we do?
I don't know. Yeah, I know.
What did we do to Italy?
To the guy with the best kit on tour, probably in your opinion. But
I mean, come on, look at the kit. He's
perfect. Also been playing well. It's not enough to just have a good dress game. You have to be playing. Right. It's like whether it's like the one year where Naomi had a nice outfit and then lost first round. It's like, oh, I didn't get to wear this more. It's like, yeah, well, Musetti's been playing top 5 level tennis on the clay, and he's getting to show off his physique, which I also think is great, right? The moral of the story is just be really skinny to start. So that way when you add some weight, it's like, wow, this guy's getting stronger. It's like, yeah, it was 110 pounds last year.
It's like when Sinner came back and everyone's like, oh my God, he's so beefed up. I'm like, okay.
I don't have Sinner on that list on the assignment, but I will say Sinner Rinderknech is one to watch because I want to see the reaction. I want to see what the crowd's like.
You just stole my next one.
Sorry.
That's fine. No, This is great. That match I'm ready for because, of course, this was also another, I don't know if he did this on Instagram, on Twitter, or where I saw it, but there was a reaction of Arthur Rinderknech, which, okay, if people don't know Arthur Rinderknech, let's take it back. Let's take it back to when he came.
French. He's very French.
He's very French, and he came for Taylor Fritz, and Taylor Fritz was not having it.
But he did it in a French way, and I think that's the issue that Taylor and maybe other American podcast hosts might have had a problem with, is that if you're going to come for someone, it's one thing, but don't act like perturbed when they're coming right back at you.
When they come right back at you.
Yeah. And it's sports. It's competitive. This is professional sports. This is your livelihood. And I also think tension is good. Just watch those Sabalenka Kostuk matches and tell me that tension isn't great for the game and the level. Yeah. But don't act annoyed or dumbfounded that the player is happy to have beat you after maybe you said some stuff. But
exactly. So basically, Taylor Fritz told him to go take a plane home at Wimbledon. That video is iconic. If you haven't seen it, I'll find it and try and link it below. But that match, so someone posted his reaction to finding out that he had Sinner first round. And he basically tagged, and I've kind of seen some of them. I don't know what they're called now, but they seem to be basically a group of fans of French tennis players. Like they wore this blue shirt, like they have a whole uniform and everything. They were in qualifying. I saw a lot of them there. And he basically tagged them and said, hey, you guys have to show up. And I was like, oh, no.
They're going to fight the carrots?
We are not in Italy anymore.
They're going to fight the carrots?
Yeah.
It's going to be a produce aisle fight. Just everyone's fighting. We got vegetables on the... yeah.
And this is something about the French Open that I think it depends on the sort of fan that you are. Some people are perturbed by it. I, for one, live for it. Because I think... As long as fans are respectful, so they're not calling you names or, being malicious, if they're just being excited for their player and cheering on their player, I love the French Open crowds.
They just have to not yell in the serve, you know, while the point's going on. Cheering faults is a bad one.
Don't cheer faults, guys.
But other than that, I mean, those are pretty general rules. So I have to say it's really Roland Garros and the U.S. Open that has a tougher time following those rules. But yeah, I think it's good. And some players rise to that level, and that might actually help. I was hoping that Ben Shelton would get a French player because then he'd be locked in like in the old college days. He kind of seems like one of those players. Francis is kind of like that too, that needs a little edge to get going and, get into it. So that's a good one. I just want to go back to the women for one. The one I don't want to leave the listeners guessing, but Rybakina Bencic, like that. Okay. Go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
I don't think I'm of the popular opinion though. Like I saw everywhere. Everyone was like fire emoji, popcorn signs, Bencic, Rybakina. Bencic hasn't played well on clay. Hasn't played well all clay season. So I'm just like, I think I posted, I was like, if this was on hard court, call me. I'll be there. I'll be the first person at the court waiting. Because this is on clay, and maybe I'm completely wrong, I'm not as excited for it. I'm just not as excited for it because Bencic has not brought it this season on clay. She was out first round in Charleston, came to Europe, hasn't done
She hasn't gone farther than the third round at the French Open, but so maybe that's what we're kind of saying. She made fourth at Madrid. Yeah, I think she could be a player that jumpstarts here. I think it's more Rybakina. Like, what are we going to get? Are we going to get a contender? Are we going to get somebody that's this week again playing a little better?
Exactly. I was just going to say, like, kind of similarly to players like Haddad Maia. All of a sudden this week.
And she's had success on clay. Like, she beat Iga when Iga was Iga on clay. So, like, this is somebody that, There's a lot going on, obviously, but I want to see the level test too. Because even if Bencic, we're not expecting a deep run, this isn't maybe an opportunity with Rybakina not at full form. So, okay. All right. We're just panning a little bit on that one. All right. Hey.
I don't know. I'm not feeling it, and I will be happy to be surprised. But I just feel like this might just be Rybakina's to take, maybe. Controversial thought, but I think she might just take that one easy. Before we get into sort of like the projected possible matchups, because there's some spicy ones in there, just a few more. What do you think of the Fonseca Hurkacz thing?
It's a good one. I kind of thought you'd mention it. I think there was a moment today where Hubie looked a little upset for Fritz. I think he might have found out what the draw was. Like, it kind of looked like someone told him there. Hubie on clay at majors has not been very good. So this is an opportunity for Fonseca, but he, like a lot of young players, Anastasia, has been hyped up a lot. Maybe it's funny when you get a big win, right? Like the projections just seem like they're moving a little too fast.
Yeah.
And most tennis people I talk to say this is a 2-3 year plan of like, he's going to take his lumps, he's going to develop. I think he's probably, I would pick him to win this match though. I would lean Fonseca in this match, but I don't know that a deep run's in order given his age and his inexperience.
Yeah. I just don't think Hurkacz is 100% healthy yet. He is playing well right now, but I saw his last match in Rome, and that knee, it was not looking great. So I don't know if the load of having played this tournament before Roland Garros, he's going deep in that tournament, coming into Roland Garros to play some kid that's an Energizer Bunny and like hitting forehands and like running around the court, might not be a good one for Hurkacz.
I had two I was just going to mention quickly, and then we can move on to bigger and better things. But Muller, Mensik, going to be tuned into that one. Miller's good. I mean, beating Zverev, and like not just that, he beat Fonseca in Brazil. He's somebody that I think, given the stage, and again, we don't know what we're going to see from some of these young players going through it the first time. And then the other one I had that I wanted to mention, was Arnaldi and Felix. That's right. Like, that's not easy for FAA.
Arnaldi lost today to Novak. Novak got his revenge or whatever. But he was leading that second set 4-1. Arnaldi can play. So it's like, that's an interesting one. But also Felix is doing really well as well.
But he loses a lot in first rounds at majors. True. Look at the track. Like, there's been runs, but there's been some early losses. So
true.
We're going to have like 10 Italians in like round 3. I can already see the scenario. Very possible.
To be an Italian tennis player. You guys have it good right now. Okay, you might have seen all the lights go on in my apartment. It's dark in New York. But let's go into the projected round. So guys, I think if you're a new fan, you might see a lot of this. I remember this one, okay, I have to bring this up. Okay. But remember when the Tennis Channel did the projected Alex Ayala to the finals for, like, what tournament was it?
Yeah, I know. I know what you're saying. I can't remember
what tournament it was, but I was like, this is bold, guys, because
I don't like those in general because you're projecting seeds all the way out, and sometimes they're not even going to make it. I'm against it too. I like here's how I like to do it. In general, I look at the top seed and just say who's in their path and who could really make a run.
Right.
But sometimes that top seed isn't even the top player in that section. It's funny how that works, right? So
yeah. So so that's why I bring that up to say this is a hypothetical. Mm-hmm. Things happen in first round matches. People have bad days, and then your projected draw just goes away. So take all of this with a grain of salt. But before we go into specific matchups, I think we just have to talk of Iga Swiatek's complete run to the final.
Her run to the final would be if she actually had a reset, was able to get back on track mentally, find comfort in the place that she's won 4 times, and then slowly start to build on it. Rome's not built in a day. She's got to win 7 matches, which she knows how to do better than anyone in this draw. if it's Emma Raducanu in round 2, which it could very well be, I actually think that's a really good stepping stone because Emma's going to play the way that has beaten Iga in the past, which is a lot of ball bashing. Emma can do some other things, but I think that's a nice way to get her, as we were talking about earlier, in check. But I told you too before, like, you know, she's the 5 seed. That's the biggest thing to tell people out there, right? She doesn't even have her own section. Yeah. But she's in the Paolini, and we love Jazzy on this show. I'm sure she's in the Paolini section. I heard today that there's some trendiness over Maia joint upsetting Paolini in round 2. That was the one that I heard was like a gamble prediction. I'm not going to say who told me, but point being, I think Iga actually drew very well for the 5 seed. She doesn't have to play Coco or Sabalenka in the quarters. I think this path, while not the easiest, and I know there's Ostapenko in there floating somewhere, but she's got to get back to basics. She's got to find comfort here and just take it one match at a time. I think she has a clear path to get back to the quarterfinals, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah. No, I love your approach. Your approach is measured. It's thoughtful. I'm just like, Ostapenko, please God, happen.
I know.
Please.
Well, where would that be? That would be round. That would be if Ostapenko gets through Paolini in that section. If it's not joint, I don't think that'll be the upset area. But if it's actually be Ostapenko round 4. I think round 4. I think Marta Kostyuk round 3 would be the first one where it's like, you know, what to expect. The thing with Kostyuk is she plays that way that could beat Iga recently, right? Bold, goes for it. She'll make a lot of errors, but in the past, Iga's able to just neutralize that and just wear you down. If she can do that here, I don't know. I think that was my first observation is Iga has a chance to get back, but you got to see some confidence in her body language to start.
Right. No, you're totally right. Because when I first saw Kostyuk, I was kind of like, well, but Iga beats Kostyuk all the time. But Kostyuk recently, I mean, I've just watched her matches against Aryna Sabalenka, and I'm like, wow, like, who is this person? And if she can bring that energy to an Iga match, I think she definitely has a chance there. So, you know, I like your measured take because I can't totally, yes, she hasn't gotten to a final or won a tournament since last year's French Open, but I don't think we can count her out. It's almost like counting. Right. I mean, you know, I'm sorry, I don't think this is hyperbole, but it's almost like counting out Rafa at this point at Roland Garros. You just don't.
You don't. If she turns it on, wins it, it's very Rafa-like, where nothing matters until you get here. She's still going to be considered the favorite. This would be the most impressive of her wins because she doesn't have the momentum. But can I say, like, the thing that stood out to me in the women's draw, the first glance, first impression, but you got to love it if you're a Coco Gauff fan. I think this is the draw that it's ideal. There's no such thing as a dream draw because there is depth on the WTA, but very, very ideal. Avoided a lot of the landmines early and sets up very nicely for her.
Yeah, it's what, you know, I do not believe in easy draw. Mm-hmm. We'll get to sort of like Alcaraz later and what his projected second round is, but it's like, I do not believe in easy draws, but you're right. This is the opportunity. This is the opportunity where theoretically you should beat all these players and get yourself to the final. So let's see. Okay. Some potential big ones. Sinner Feast 4th round.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, what's not to like about that? Fees has risen to the occasion when he's played some of these players, but I don't think he has met a top. I could be wrong, but this would be, best of 5.
Well, here's the thing. So Feast has lost first round of the French Open. He's not gone deep at the French Open. And I think especially this French Open specifically, he's probably looking to redeem himself a bit. He's been playing well, Monaco, like he's had some really great runs this clay season. He should get to that 4th round match. He really should. And as long as Rinderknech doesn't spoil the Sinner party, that should be a fun 4th round.
That's a very fun 4th round. So is, selfishly, we've said his name once, but I want, for all the chaos, I want Musetti and Holger round 4. Under the lights, parents screaming, just let's go. That's what I want. I want just shorts hiked up, sleeveless shirts on. Let's go.
I'm sorry, guys, but how can you not love tennis and the characters?
Right? That's what we want. And both exciting styles of play, too. There's so much made about what's exciting and what's not. Holger's such an enigma in a lot of ways because he'll make a deep run. He'll beat a top player. He'll get bounced early. He'll tweet about how sick he is online and all the stuff he's got going wrong. But it's why we watch. It's entertaining. And I think that could be a great match.
That could be an awesome match. Now that I'm thinking about it, actually, I watched them play before Musetti was a top 10 player at Indian Wells, like 2 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a really, really interesting matchup for sure.
The other one there is, sorry, I was just saying the other one there is Casper and Tommy could be a 4th round matchup.
Ooh, I didn't even see that one. Oh, Casper.
Tommy's got a nice opportunity to make a run here, and they've played before, and it's been heated and literally heated. You might have been at that U.S. Open where Tommy almost like passed out in the 5th set.
Yeah,
could barely walk to the net.
Yep. I think that's a very interesting one. Casper, who usually plays the week before Roland Garros, did not this year, so it will be interesting to see how he's doing. I think now that Tommy has his car back, he's fine, or his truck, So who knows? That could be a really fun one. The one that jumped out at me that I was kind of like, be for real. How is this a 4th round match? Is Medvedev Djokovic, possible 4th round.
Yeah, that's...
How many times has that been a final at the U.S. Open?
So you're just, yeah. We're assuming that both get there, huh?
Okay, tell me more, Mitch. Tell me more.
I think Djokovic is going to get there. The draw's nice, it would, Mackey, it's a tough break for Mackey. Now he'll have played Djokovic and Nadal in the first round at Roland Garros. So fun fact there. And then Shapovalov, I think Djokovic will be able to handle him. But Medvedev on clay, and I know he's more positive. He says he likes it. He has, potential. Is he going to just waltz right through? I don't know. You go on bare on clay in the French side of it, could be a tough challenge. There's also maybe some plots that he could. Even Cam Norrie round 1, we didn't say that match, but
right.
I don't know if you can really fully count on Medvedev on clay. So,
look, you're right. And these days, in general, it's tough to count on Medvedev. If you're listening to this and haven't either listened or watched the latest episode of Match Stories, I talked about this concept that I've had for a while called the Lost Boys, and I'll link it below. But the generation of players born in the 90s, Tsitsipas, Zverev, and Medvedev, it's like they're having a tough time at the moment. And it's funny that I'm looking at that match and being like, ooh, 4th round. And I remember at the Australian Open, Medvedev was in a battle with, was it a qualifier from New Zealand? I can't even remember who that player was. And you're just like, wait, what? It's Daniil Medvedev. He was supposed to win 4 Grand Slams. What happened?
I have a question for you. Do you know the answer to this? How many males in the 90s have won Grand Slams? How many total?
How many total?
Medvedev and Dominic Thiem. That's it. So
generation
that's it. We've already got Alcaraz and Sinner have already combined for 7. So those 2 in the 90s. So you got 7. I'm going to go on a limb and say and counting.
Yeah.
For those 2.
Yeah. It's tough going for those 90s kids. But let's see. I mean, I would love to see it. I think Medvedev has, some unfinished business because that final where Djokovic won his 24th Grand Slam, I think Medi did not really show up, and he might have unfinished business there. But you're right. Will they get there? Who knows? We've already talked about Kostic, Swiatek. Any other kind of projections jump out at you?
Yeah, I think if we get here's my bold take is that the winner of Badosa, Naomi, is going to get to the 4th round. Maybe not that bold if it's Badosa and she's healthy. And a match with Mira Andreeva in round 4 between one of those two should be really fun. That would be one on the women's side because the top of the draw, I think we're in agreement, is a little more loaded with some potential up there. So that would be one on the bottom I'm looking at. And then on the top of the women's draw, boy, you know what? I got one for you. Round 3, not even talking round 4 yet. Peyton Stearns, Qinwen Zhang, round 3. Sign me up.
I'm sorry. That's gonna be tough for Qinwen. That is gonna
Stearns
be
is tough, but the queen is tough too.
Yes,
she is not looking to make friends out there, so we might need a referee to separate them a few times, but who knows?
Okay, that is a good one. I did not see that one either. That is a good one because Peyton's been looking so fire.
Seeded now. This is incredible that what she's done this year has gotten her in the seeded range. So she's earned that and earned it the hard way. Last time Qinwen has played in these courts, she won the gold medal. So confidence is going to be there for her in beating Sabalenka. But yeah, there's on the women's side, like we've heard a lot on the men's side about it's open. We've heard all this stuff. Oh, it's a wide open major. Like, oh, anyone can win. Men's side, it's just like Sunshine Anderson. We've heard it all before. But on the women's side, there might actually be some belief to that where I could be talked into not quite double digits, but getting close to that number with players that could conceivably win this tournament.
Right. You're really right. Because when you dig into it with the men's side, because I was going to bring up Sinner and Alcaraz, what are the possibilities that we actually do get that final? If they're both playing the way they can play, I just don't see how we don't. There definitely tough ones there. I know for the first time ever, because usually Djokovic is on Alcaraz's side of the draw, but this time he's on Sinner's side of the draw, so that should be interesting.
And he's in this Zverev quarter, which is nice.
It's just Sinner, Djokovic, and Zverev are all on the same side of the draw, and I'm like, you guys fight it out. You guys fight it out. Let me know who comes out on top, okay?
I would be shocked if Alcaraz isn't at least in the final, given what you just said. So that would shock me. I think his path to the final is never looked clear. And what we had doubts about health, Barcelona injury, doesn't seem to be battling anything.
No, he doesn't seem to be battling anything right now. The one thing I would say is probably the hiccup in his draw is Fabian Marozsan in the second round. I think Fabian Marozsan is someone that is very easy to underestimate. I think we all did when he first beat Alcaraz at that Rome tournament. What was that, 3 years ago now? Maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I think Fabian in general likes Rome because then he did the same thing to Joao Fonseca this year, same scoreline and everything. So I think Fabian Marozsan is definitely going to be the first test. And if he can get over that first test, you're right. Path to the final seems pretty clear.
I think we're going to get a wild quarterfinalist on the men's side in that Taylor Fritz section. Could be Fritz, Tiafoe, looking at the other numbers there, Korda, Mickelson. Fritz hasn't looked great. That section's wide open.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at, my thing would be, and I don't think he can win it because I don't think he can beat Alcaraz, but I like Musetti to get to the semis. I think he's a great clay court player. He's got the Tsitsipas disease, right? And Tsitsipas could be making it to, round 4, I think, is Alcaraz. It's Tsitsipas, great clay player, just can't beat that guy. That guy Carlos just gives him trouble. So Musetti's got a little bit of that, which is understandable.
Right. No, but I'm sure Musetti would want a redo of that match that happened at Rome for sure as well. But you're right. It kind of seems like we will, or probably, hopefully, maybe we'll get a Sincaraz. I see the vision there. But on the women's side, and it's not almost also just anyone. There's some great players. I can list at least 5 that I would if they got to the final, I would be yep, sign me up.
We can't end without me mentioning this too, because Sabalenka has been the model of consistency. She's possessed to win Roland Garros. I think losing Italian Open was just fine at the end of the day to kind of get back to, rest up for the big goal, which is that first French Open title. But round 4 would be Amanda Anisimova if the seeds hold, and that is a player that has given her a tough time. She's a semifinalist at this very tournament. That could be intriguing. I just think if you're looking at history and you want to play the odds and looking at what's been there, there's been no more consistent player on the women's side by far, major in, major out, than Sabalenka to get quarterfinal, semifinal on. So that'd be where I would start.
She's one of the sort of I think if anyone wants to look at what perseverance and hard work can do. Look at Sabalenka, because if you had told us back in the day when she's doing like 17 double faults in a match and she can't like serve out and she's underarm serving and all that stuff, no one, I think at that moment would be like, yeah, and then she would be number one, far and away the number one. Like, to catch her right now, you have to win 2 Grand Slams. So she just looks so steady and sure that I think she's going to be a tough out. But you're right. Amanda Anisimova, I talked to her as well at Charleston, and she said it right there. She's like, I want to be top 10. And, you know, if you want to be top 10, you got to beat Aryna Sabalenka to get yourself there.
I love it. I think it's going to be good. I think
yeah,
we're going to see every major is great because we're going to see someone that starts out on the ground, passes on the outer courts, that makes it deep for the first time, fourth round, quarterfinal, semifinal.
Yeah.
Women's side has like a pretty high percentage of unseeded players making quarterfinal or semifinals. So someone's probably going to do it again.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for that for sure. And, you know, I think what I always say with draw shows and things like that, everyone take it with a grain of salt. Stuff happens. Stuff really does happen at these Grand Slams. And, you know, we're all probably going to look stupid at the end of this when we don't get a Sincaraz final. And, you know, we're all like, holy moly, who made it there? But yeah, really exciting stuff. I'm so excited for what's coming up at this tournament this year. Any other matches before I wrap up, Mitch, or do you think that was pretty much it for you?
Well, I would say, just for anyone out there that's a fan of hers, like I am, Ostapenko, Paulina Kudermetova round 1. You know, we're always penciling Ostapenko to make a run. She has to actually get out of the first round to do it. So that was the one. And then I think there was one. Let me look. There was one more men's. Zverev, Lerner, Tien. Can Lerner beat him again and maybe beat him in the first round? That would be the low point of where Zverev's at. So yeah,
that would be rough. But on clay, I don't think that matchup is the same for sure.
Do you think Monfils can give Jack Draper a match in round 2?
It's hard because I was thinking back, but when was the last tournament Monfils played? Was it Madrid?
Yeah, he hasn't been doing really well since Miami.
Yeah.
Clay season hasn't been good for him. But
hasn't been great.
The crowd loves him. I mean, he's going to get the hero's welcome. We saw it in that match against Baez years ago.
Yeah.
Where he couldn't even walk. His like hamstring was giving out.
Oh, you just reminded me of that match. That was the best match that year.
He's nothing if he isn't a showman.
That was the best match that year. Guys, if you do nothing, if you want to just go watch replay, Sebastian Baez, Gael Monfils first round. What was that, 2 years ago?
Maybe 2 or 3. I can't remember. It all blends together. But there's some opportunities. So this tournament's going to be great. I will always put Roland Garros near the top of, you know, obviously slams, but any tournament. But the best thing about it is we're hitting the golden stretch, the peak of the tennis season, right? Roland Garros through Wimbledon. We got 2 majors within less than 2 months are going to be completed. So I'm ready to swim through the channel. Like, isn't that what it's called? The channel. So I'm ready to start swimming.
It is going to be a busy, busy time. So again, thank you guys for listening. This Grand Slam, there'll be more podcasts. We're going to try and come to you after every single round. Hold us to it. If you don't hear from us, like, bother us and we'll come to you after every single round. We're going to have the daily catch-ups. They'll be a little different than Australia because of the time zones. Like, matches are probably going to be ending later, so maybe it'll be an afternoon tea catch-up. You know, we'll see how it goes there. We're on Substack. We're going to be on social media, Instagram, Threads, everything. Wherever you need us, we will be there giving you all the stories coming out of Roland Garros. So again, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you're listening to this on the podcast listener of your choice, give us a 5-star rating. And my question for the end, so if you listened all the way to the end, what first round match are you excited for? Like, let me know in the comments. That way I know you listened all the way to the end. And we will see you actually on Sunday after the first day of Roland Garros. Bye, guys.